This isn't just about mass deportations. The federal government has built and is expanding a new industrial pipeline. And this isn't hyperbole. I'm not just trying to scare people. We need to dig into the facts around this because most people do understand that there's a mass deportation going on, that there's heavy ICE and military presence in multiple cities, and there's quite a few people that are being treated horribly. As if that wasn't all bad enough, the logistics around all of this are frightening. I think for those of you that are still at least somewhat sympathetic to Trump's crackdown on immigration will find this video eye-opening. The first thing we need to do is kill the myth of deporter-in-chief, and that is, of course, President Obama. In 2012, for instance, his administration deported 409,000 people. But Obama focused on felons, not families. 90% of those people either had criminal records or were caught at the border. Now fast forward to 2025 and that's completely flipped on its head. We are already at approximately 400,000 deportations, although the numbers are pretty fuzzy from what we're getting from this administration. But these are no longer criminals. This is now a full-on dragnet. And 80% of these people have never committed any crime. And remember, immigration law is not criminal law. If you violate immigration law, you're not a criminal. It's more akin to a misdemeanor. Now we get into the really scary stuff, the militarization of it all. Under previous administration, detainees were typically held in county jails or private prisons. In 2025, that's moved to military bases. And there's a key reason for that. We now have confirmation of what they're calling evaluation centers and detention sites at Fort Bliss in Texas, Fort Dix in New Jersey, and there's a massive expansion at Guantanamo Bay in Cuba. And why military bases? Because they're on federal land. They don't have to deal with local zoning laws, state inspectors, or even protesters. And they can scale from 0 to 5,000 beds overnight. Now they're calling these processing centers, but when you put razor wire around a tent city at a military base, there's typically another word for that. And then we get into the tech digital side of all of this. ICE is knocking on doors, but they're not just knocking on doors anymore. They're using something called Immigration OS. This is a $30 million contract with Palantir, and it's a completely AI-driven targeting system. It works by pulling data from license plate readers, utility bills, and social media. And it doesn't just find people, it finds networks. So if you're a citizen, but you Venmo an undocumented person or even drive them to work, your data is now in the target graph. We also have information of fake cell phone towers being used in sanctuary cities to intercept text messages and location data. Military-grade spy equipment being used on American soil. And all of this is designed to be ramped up. And the funding behind it came from that one big beautiful bill. Congress allocated $170 billion for this. To give you an idea, to deport 1 million people, it only costs about $88 billion. And the entire FBI budget is $11 million. Now, of course, this will have an effect on the economy and everything else. There's already reported labor shortages all over the place. But the important things here, the really important things here are the human elements. And this has the potential to be as destructive as anything we've seen in history. If we weren't so powerful, we would have already been condemned by the entire world. And of course, it's not just Latinos that are affected. This is citizens that are affected, immigrants from all over the world. But it is primarily them, and we shouldn't minimize that fact. Even if it only affected your undocumented neighbors, they're still your neighbors. And we're not just looking at another mass deportation here, as horrific as they've been in the past. This is a military operation comparable to the Japanese internment camps or worse. A lot of you have this deep-seated bias, and I know I do. I had to really work on it, but it's still there. I've got to constantly deal with it. But you have a bias that minimizes this stuff. You might not even realize it there, but notice that you're minimizing it. Don't take the selfish outlook on this and say, oh, if it affects this group, then it's going to affect that group, and eventually it's going to get to you. Well, yes, that is true, but be bigger than that. These are human beings we're dealing with. We're all the same.